host, Dianne Hart. Welcome to Where Are They Now? My special guest tonight is Detroit Red, one of the baddest comics you all have ever seen or heard. So good evening. How are you?
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. It's our pleasure to have you on Where Are They Now? So, we're going to jump right in. Where have you been and where you are now is critically important to so many people. So we're going to talk a little bit about that.
Okay.
Where are you from?
Detroit, Michigan, born and raised. Literally cannot escape this bad boy. My money just won't get up high enough so I can get out. No, I love my city. Born and raised in Detroit native. You see in my name, I represent it everywhere I go.
Detroit Red. So what school did you attend?
High school, I went to Pershing High School. Middle school, I went to two, Farwell and Von Steuben. Well, high school, I went to two as well. I swore and then got kicked out of there and they sent me on to Pershing. But all Detroit public schools, decent education. I can't say it wasn't when I was paying attention. But all Detroit public schools.
How old were you when you started into comedy? Did you start in elementary school cutting up?
Well, yeah, I was a class clown my whole life. That's definite. I stayed in trouble for talking too much and wanting to be the funny guy. Actually, when I started comedy, that was not my goal. It was not in my list of things I wanted to do. I was always a silly guy, sociable guy, never shied away from talking to folks or interacting with people. And what happened was in 1998, my mother passed in February of that year. And 6 months later, my father passed in September. When you go through losing a parent and then two parents in such a short period of time at that age, you kind of handle things a little different. I was the only child. So I kind of receded from the world, as they would say. I shrunk back into the shelter of home when people wouldn't see me. So one of my cousins actually called me one night by direction of the elders, hey, go check on that boy, and took me to an open mic here in Detroit, which was very big back in 98 at Coco's House of Comedy.
Yeah.
I had never been to a live comedy show, and this particular show was like a variety open mic. You didn't just get comedians, you had musicians, poetry, comics, dance, all types of acts. Right. And I saw a comedian named Foolish. He had just done BET Comic View. He was just getting to be a radio personality here in Detroit. And I laughed so hard that night. And something said, you can do this. So I asked my cousin, which she had already been hanging around comedy as a comedy fan, knew a lot of the comedians, and she told me how to come back, sign up. And I went back the next week. And at that time, Bill Clinton had his little, I guess, fling or Oval Office, shenanigans, as we will say. I didn't know nothing about writing no joke, but I knew how to talk mess about situations. So I got up there and for 7 minutes, that's what I talked about. My ideals and thoughts on Monica keeping this dress, him in the Oval Office getting his, fun time in. And I went home that night. The crowd was very receptive. Laughter was just crazy. And I went home that night on an energy that I had never in my life felt. It took me forever to go to sleep. Couldn't wind down. And when I did, and a lot of people think I'd be making this up, but I'm really real about this. When I did, I dreamed of my father just laughing uncontrollably. And I've been on the stage ever since. 26 years in October this year.
Wow. So he gave you that extra boost of energy that you needed to continue. You knew At that point you were on the right track.
Yeah, and my old man, when he was alive, he was the most stone-faced, quiet guy around his buddies and other family. But to me, he was like the scariest image in my life. He wasn't abusive or nothing. He was just a really quiet, serious man. He very rarely spoke. His nickname was Giggy, but I very rarely saw him giggle. So when I had that dream, but what's so funny about that is in June of that year, me and him were sitting on the porch, middle of the summer, and out of nowhere, I told him, you know what, Pop? I'm going to be a stand-up comedian. And he giggled. Now, I really had no intentions of doing it. I had just been hearing my friends say, so long, you should do it, you should do it. So I kind of shot it at him to see his reaction. And he kind of giggled then, knowing that I'm the guy that always come up with something to do, but do half of it. And so when I did that night and I had that dream, it was like this confirmation that my old man was happy with what he saw me attempting to do. And I think that really gave me the motivation throughout the years to continue forward because I felt that I had finally found something to make my parents proud. And I love it. It's just, my God, it's just the best thing in the world. It's almost like a drug. I hate not being funny, but it's addictive. It's fun. It's so much that goes along with it. So I've been 26 years. I've been hitting that stage and doing shows.
Are there some other people who have influenced you in the comedy world?
Definitely grew up as a kid. Red Fox was one of my idols because, who didn't grow up watching Sanford and Son? And he was just organically funny. You wasn't even old enough to understand in depth most of the things he was talking about on that TV show. I hadn't even heard none of his after party records because a lot of people don't know Red Fox was actually the godfather of rated R urban comedy. You could even sell his records in the record shop. Grown-ups would play these things like they were at an after-hour strip club. Just seeing him on TV, he was always so funny to me. Eddie Murphy, definitely big impact. Raw, delirious. I mean, as a teenager, that was like my favorite comedy to watch. And then I really wasn't that knowledge. Richard Pryor was not a big stand-up influence at that time because I only knew of him in the movies, which he was hilarious in all his movies. And then later on down the line, Robert Harris and Bernie Mac really became one of my type idols. So if I had to name my top 5, it would be Red Fox, Richard Pryor, Eddie Murphy, Bernie Mac, and Robert Harris. Rest in peace to all those that's passed on since then.
Wow, what a lineup.
All stars. Great. Right. And hopefully one day I can get somewhere, at least on the bottom step of that stardom ladder.
I'm sure you're on that ladder already.
Oh,
so you write most of your comedy?
I write all. From the time I started, I really do not do a lot of exaggeration comedy is what I describe it as, where comics write and make up kind of fictional type jokes. My comedy is really based off real life. Situations, events, current affairs, things that's going on in everyday life. So I do what I call real life comedy because my motto is life is the biggest joke. It's the punchline.
That is a good line for it. I never thought about that. Laughter is so rewarding and it helps you through so many things. So I'd much rather be laughing than crying because it just warms your heart to giggle, makes you feel good. So I can imagine you at a concert energizing everybody there.
I appreciate it. It's healing. It's nothing more rewarding to bring a smile to strangers' faces. I mean, there's a lot of funny people in the world, people that make their family and their friends laugh, but to be able to say things that the average individual may be too scared or have too much inhibition to let out, and then they hear you up here making light of some of the darkest things, they relate and feel like, hey, I'm not in this by myself. I'm not the only one dealing with these things. And this person has found the humor in it, which helps me laugh at it. And in turn helps me handle and deal with it better. So I love that. It's almost like I'm a laugh doctor.
And that you are. It's funny that you say that because most people don't think about it that way, but that is certainly the truth. You help people to heal through telling the truth, really.
Yes.
It's funny how you say it, I'm certain. It is the truth. And it's light for so many people. So
and it's self-therapy too. I don't have to spend no money on a therapist. I get it all free on that stage.
You're your own therapist and therapist for many others.
Because sometimes just getting it off your chest is the biggest relief.
That's so true. Have you ever written for anybody else?
No, I haven't actually, because at one point younger in my career, I did hire somebody for a brief moment to try to write some material for me. And he was very honest with me. He was like, I'll take the little money that, I'll charge you, of course, because we got bills to pay. He said, but nobody can ever write your material for you because you know what you've experienced. You know all the minute details. You are the one that can put the conviction behind the material. So I've never tried to do it for anybody else because I'm just such a real life comic. I would have to literally follow you around all day and see what your day is like to write for you. And then Lord forbid I write some material and a comic go use it in a bomb. I don't need that kind of pressure. I'm scared I'm gonna bomb my dang own self. So I haven't touched the writing aspect disrespect for anyone. I have worked on a couple projects where I've given my input, movies, couple plays throughout the years, and writing some funny stuff, some skits, but I've never really wrote for anybody else but myself.
Have you ever bombed?
Oh, hell yeah. What? Hiroshima? Oh, I'll be the first comic to tell you. Look here. Any comedian sit up and tell you that they have never bombed. They flat out lying. It's nothing to be ashamed of. It could happen any given Sunday. Dave Chappelle came here and he bombed. And then he came back on his special and told everybody why he bombed. Because he had some of this good medicinal Detroit medicine and he couldn't handle it. And he got up there and he bombed. It happened. Yes, I have. I've bombed. You take it on the chin. You look at what the circumstances. Some bombs are really not your fault. If the crowd's not into it, they not into the comedy show. Because a lot of times people don't know, we do shows in places that's not comedy club, bars, halls, where people get inebriated. People are more in the party mood. They're not wanting to hear you. They're not listening. You could be the funniest guy in the world. But if that mindset is not, hey, let me sit here and listen, it happens. So yes, I can honestly say I've bombed, but I've been funny way more than I've bombed. So anybody thinking about booking me, do know I don't bomb anymore.
That's awesome. Don't just say, yeah, I have bombed, but I'm no longer bombing. I am delivering. I'm standing up and delivering just what you need.
Yeah, because most of my bombs happen when they leave me in the green room too long. Just bring me on up. Don't let me sit back there and have too many shots of scotch and some medication. Ain't no telling what might happen. Just bring me on out there. Let me get this over with so I can get back to relaxing.
That is hilarious. So for those of you all who are listening, please do not leave Detroit Red in the green room too long.
Especially with a lot of green stuff. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. The more green stuff, the more I might forget. I'm just saying I'm a little older now. Yeah, people ask me all the time too, do I get nervous or was I nervous in the beginning? Yes. And to this day, I am still nervous every time I get ready to go on stage because the fear of bombing is always there. I've been in situations where I just know this was going to be the greatest show, but it was some minor details I had no clue of. It was something going on I had no clue of. The situation, like I said earlier. So I'm always nervous because I always want to give my best. I always want to give the funniest show that I possibly can. So them nerves for me is always in play. What has happened over the last 2 decades is that I've learned how to channel the nervous energy and project it and put it into the show. So therefore, it does not shut me down. It actually helps me lift the bar on myself to go out and give a better show.
I know that's right. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll continue our interview with the baddest comic you all have ever seen or heard, Detroit Red. I was trying to get his government name, but what did you tell me about that name?
Oh yeah, we can't release that to the public. I don't owe no child support or nothing, but stalkers. I can't. I had one stalker. This heifer was so good at imitating the bush. She was outside my house for 2 days before I realized it was an actual woman. I kind of keep the government name on the DL because you never know. They get hold of your government name. I ain't worried about no credit theft because you mess around and go to jail trying to get a credit card in my name. I'm a minus 250. Yeah, I keep that government name on the DL because, people are a little nutty nowadays.
They absolutely are. So we're going to take a short break and we'll be right back.
A couple of y'all kind of confused right now.
We are.
You're like, this motherfucker pale? He got a fro? What color are you? I'm that new nigga. I'm the hybrid. I'm that new high yellow motherfucker. My ex-old lady decided she wanted them new grab you eyelashes. You know them bitches when you blink your eye look like you're about to snatch your ass. And we done got freaky and drunk, so she wants to hide the banana. I'm like, fuck it, hide this bitch. Smoke that cigar, go on, stick it down there. The problem is, as skilled as she was, when she got it all the way down, the eyelash brushed me right here in my hip. And it felt like an insect. Now when you feel an insect, what do? You swat at that motherfucker. And I hope the judge believes this is what happened, as crazy as it sounds. Oh, now I'm looking at some time. Follow me everywhere. My name is Comedian Detroit Red. Thank you, Ohio.
Oh my goodness. Welcome back to Where Are They Now with my guest, Detroit Red.
And the Johnny ain't even all the way kicked in.
I have my own comedy show tonight.
Hey, it's my pleasure.
Oh, thank you. You all need to be right here with me. I have my own comedy show and you're sharing it with me. So thank you all for watching us tonight. We took a break so that we could listen to Detroit Red.
I'm straight rated R. I do it all. I can do church. I can do clean, but I love rated R. Seniors purchase tickets, come enjoy the show. And they were like the greatest. I'm talking about these folks were so cool and so down to earth. I had a ball. And hopefully we hope to get it back up and going in the near future. COVID is still around, but they have, of course, forced everybody to get the microchip vaccination. Just my opinion. That's why I got the welfare one, the Johnson & Johnson. And you know it's the welfare one because they only did one round. You ain't heard nothing else about Johnson & Johnson doing no vaccination. Hopefully, in the future, I would love to get back into that because a lot of times people don't understand. Seniors become neglected. They live in these assisted living apartments in these different buildings. The family becomes busy. They don't get to see their people like they want to. They don't get the conversation, much less get to just enjoy laugh. So I really enjoy being able to produce something that they could invite their family to enjoy with them and bring them back together and get into hanging out and a ritual thing. So we're looking to get them back started. I just have to get my schedule back in order now. Everything's opening now. Business is picking up everywhere, but we do plan on getting those started back soon.
Well, that's wonderful. And I know that the seniors, they had to have loved everything you said. I can just see them having so much fun. So do you collaborate with others?
Yes, I do. On occasion, I do collaborate with other comedians. Just recently, we closed down a Wednesday and a Thursday night I had, and one of my co-hosts, first and only co-host I've had in 20 years plus of producing shows, Mr. Frank G, 3-time BET Comic View. He was my co-host. We had those rooms for a year. One room sold to a new owner, and the other room decided they wanted to kind of take a break. But I collab with others all the time. That's what it's about. You should be able to network and collab. To a degree, comedy is an individual sport. The collaboration behind the scenes creates bigger and better things for all the comics. So yeah, I collab with people on different projects.
That's wonderful. If you had some good advice for some of these new young people who want to be a comic, not quite sure how they get started, what would be some advice you would give to these young people?
First of all, get off Facebook. Get off the internet. When I say get off, I'm not telling you to stop because internet comedy has become a very big thing. It's its own genre. But if you really want to be a professional comedian, you have to write and you have to work out. And working out is not sitting in front of this camera. Is going to these live stages because it's a whole nother experience. It's easy for us to sit here and talk to a screen and read comments and get a little feedback, but it's a whole nother experience to actually go on stage. If you go once and it don't work, don't stop. You just keep writing and you keep working out. Don't expect more before the time for it to come happens. A lot of our younger comedians, I hate to say this, have gotten kind of this sense of entitlement because they may do one or two bar shows. They may be funny on Facebook, but ain't really hitting on the stage. They want to be excelled and promoted to positions they're not quite ready for. You have to have a certain amount of time to do everything. As a host, the average professional comedy club wants you to have a solid 15 minutes, a feature, solid 25 minutes, and a headliner is 45 minutes to an hour. They want you to have material. They don't want you to get on here and talk like you talking on live. They don't want you quoting a bunch of memes. They want you to actually have material. So write, and work it out. A lot of new comics I've been talking to lately has expressed that they always trying new stuff. That's not really how it works. It's okay to try new material. You can't write so much material and then perfect none of it. A joke can evolve. A 1-minute joke can evolve to a 20-minute set if you really keep writing and working it. Before you know it, you've built this list of jokes that give you the hour and a half. I know new comics that's shooting specials and got 50 minutes of mess talking and maybe 10 minutes of real material. And then when they burn out, they trying to figure out, well, what happened? What happened is the people that's been in this game and not new to it, but true to it, recognize those that write and work out from those that's just getting up and BSing and mess talking on the microphone. But write and work out. Hit every open mic you can. Takes 1,000 mics. I tell every new comic, you need 1,000 mics under your belt before you can consider yourself having this time. It sounds like it's easy to do, but reality is, if you work a day job, life is lifing while you're trying to do this. You have to have the fortitude and the tenacity to get in that stage. Some days I do 11-hour shifts. I still work a day job. I've always worked a day job because I ain't gonna be no struggling artist. Struggling or starving. I likes to eat. I ain't about to be waiting, and I make decent money doing comedy, but sometimes the work's just not as consistent. Look, I got health insurance, I got car note, got car insurance, rent, the electric and gas bill got me hostage right now. I can't even buy a new pair of socks messing with these folks. I've always kept a day job, and there's been instances where I've had to do 11, 12-hour shifts and rush to get to a booking to make that money too. And I have to be able to perform at top peak as a comedian, no matter what else I'm doing in my other part of my life. Keep going. Be ready for this. This is not as easy as we make it look. It took a lot of work for the comics that you see, veterans and OGs, that make it look so easy. You really don't know the sacrifice and what's been given up. And be prepared. If you want the success, you got to do the work. And that's just as real as I can keep it.
Hey, and there's no question about that. If you want it, you have to work for it. Nobody's going to hand it to you. I can't even imagine when you say 1,000 mics, you literally mean 1,000 mics.
Yes.
To perform 1,000 times.
Yes,
that is phenomenal to do in itself. So for these young folk who think, oh, I've made it when I've done 3 or 4 shows, I'm on my way, they have just begun.
And remember this, the people in your city may know of you. The people closest to you definitely know you. Right. But for every 2 people that know you, it's 2,000 that's never heard of you. So you're never done trying to make your name a household name. The work is never done. I've been doing this 26 years, but it's like 300-something million people in the country. I may have 500,000 that may know me by name and face. So that's nothing. My work is not done. It won't be done until the whole country knows who I am. And that should be the goal and mindset of any new comic. Don't feel as though you've gotten a little popularity in your local market and that's where it stopped, because it doesn't. That local market knows you, but it's 100 more local markets that's never heard of you. Like some of the folks that's listening to this podcast, they sitting here wondering about where they at now. We're wondering where the hell I been. Who is he? I know that, but hey, it never stops.
Where are you performing now, or are you performing currently? And if so, where can we see you?
I just had 2 shows Saturday. One was at Inkster, Michigan, Recreational Center, clean show. Following that night was the Blues After Party. We had King George and Pookie Bear. I don't know if people know.
Pookie Bear.
Pookie out of
Pookie Bear.
The side chick song. Nothing so. Right. They came down and I actually did set for their after party, which was really nice. I just performed at the new Mike Epps Comedy Club here in Detroit.
Oh, yeah.
One mic stand. I was there a couple weeks ago. Just last week, I was at the Punchline Comedy Club in Southfield, Michigan. Next month, I'll be in Spring Hill, Tennessee. Hey, I work all the time. Somebody called me. I was getting off today. Hey, can you come down to one mic? I need somebody to fill in. Hey, man, hold on. Wait a minute. I got to do this. And let me see how many shots I can make it through if I'm going to be able to come back out the house. And people can also look me up, Comedian Detroit Red on YouTube, Detroit Red on Facebook, Comedian Detroit Red on Instagram, and also TikTok. Even though I don't really do a lot of TikToking, I'm there as well. So people can catch different phases of my show everywhere. And currently I have, I guess you would call it Comedy Mentary. It's an hour and 40 minutes of skits, stand-up, and my own mini reality series I did last year. Yeah, I ended up getting divorced and had to stay in one of the worst hotels here in the city for about a year. I figured, hey, since I'm here, let's make this a reality show. Currently, I had that. It's called Detroit Red's World. It's got skits, stand-up, some journalism, because I also work with a podcast here. Charlie LaDuff, No BS News Hour. We're ranked in the top 200 of the nation in podcasts. So I've done some journalism with them as well as skits, my own mini reality series, as well as stage stuff. So it's all like an hour and 40 minutes. And if you reach out to me, I can gladly ship you a copy out of course for a small fee.
Well, I thank you for that information. Look, I'm looking forward to be getting an opportunity to see that. I can't even imagine you in the worst hotel in Detroit doing a reality skit.
Oh, yeah.
I know it's live.
Oh, yeah. Had a ball there, boy. You talk about meeting the best of life. Huh. I'm going to tell you this. A lot of people look at some of the worst places and assume because the place may not be the best, the people in the place aren't the best either. But I actually met a lot of great people. Some had fallen on hard times. Some had, been in some trouble. They were all there to get back on track. And I met a lot of cool people in the midst of doing this. So I had a ball. It wasn't the best, but it wasn't the worst either. I had fun. I can't say I didn't.
And that's the most important part, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. I didn't get shot or stabbed. So I guess I'm doing pretty good.
That's wonderful. Well, I just want to thank you for coming on tonight and allowing me this opportunity to have this real live conversation with you. Thanks for telling people where you are now.
Thank you.
It's important, and we greatly appreciate you joining us tonight. We're live every Thursday night on Detroit Hot TV at 7:30, and I'm excited about it. I've got to get you on Tampa Bay TV. I have a show in Tampa on Roku. I'll be talking to you.
Okay, hey, let me know. I ain't been down there to Tampa Bay. I want to come see what that life is about right there. I might not come back. Y'all getting sun all the time.
You will go back. It was 91 degrees today.
Oh, yeah, you're right, because I can't take no heat. I'm too light for that. I'd be melting like a vanilla ice cream cone. Real talk. I get to turn it red for real.
I'm sure you would.
But thank you for having me. I'm really honored and I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for being on the show tonight. I am your host, Dianne Hart. I look forward to seeing you all on next Thursday night at 7:30 on Detroit Hot TV. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.